Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and in this one we are testing the GeForce RTX 4070 Ti Super in Marvel Spider-Man 2, which is finally available on PC. And here are the specs of the GPU. We are using the Zotac AMP Hollow model of the card, and we have the 16GB of GDDR6X from Micron. Resizable bar is enabled inside BIOS. We have the latest NVIDIA driver, the game ready driver for Spider-Man 2 on PC 572.16. And over here in Task Manager we have the Intel Core i7-13700K CPU. For memory we have 64GB of DDR5 6000 MHz CL36. And finally, in MSI Afterburner, no overclocks are applied. Everything is set to stock settings. So let's jump into the game and check out the frame rates, guys. So here are the settings, guys. In the launcher, as you can see, we're going to use DLAA at first, and we are going to max out the graphical settings, which is very high. We're going to set it to very high and then change all of these settings individually, which of them can go to very high. Like mostly the ray tracing settings, you can set them to very high, these ones, which is basically ultimate. And for ray tracing object range, I'm going to max it out to 10. Ray reconstruction, that's the thing in this game. If you use the transformer model, that's the latest one for RTX 40 and 50 series GPU. I don't have any 50 series GPU yet, but I plan on getting one maybe in the future. Let's see. So if you use ray reconstruction in this game, it's going to make you force DLSS quality upon you, which is this, and this is I think DLSS 4 which is gonna be using. And if you disable this ray reconstruction, you go back to the normal DLSS 3. That's what I think what is happening here. Let me know if I am wrong on this, but that's what I think is happening here. So we're going to stick to DLAA at first and max out everything else. So this is going to be native 4K. So here we go, guys, at 4K resolution using DLAA. This is maxed out graphic settings as I showed you earlier. This is everything maxed out, and this is what we are getting at native 4K. Using DLAA, anti-aliasing. It's Spider-Man 2. And I really didn't expect it to get 60 FPS, obviously from a 4070 Ti Super. I knew it was gonna stick around 40, but yeah, when during swinging and when fighting enemies, you get to like 30s. But most of the time it stays above 30, as I have seen. I've already played this game a bit with this GPU, and it does stay above 30 FPS, which is at least gives you that playable experience. But if you enable quality DLSS, that is DLSS 4 with the new transformer model, if you enable that, oh, I can't leave mission area, great. So as you can see, there's a lot of stutters with the frame time graph. Obviously that's gonna be a thing because we are dropping, like the FPS is really low right now, and we're getting like 30 milliseconds of frame time. Not the greatest. So I don't think this will be playable like this for too long. And we are also gonna try frame generation. And also one thing I want to let you guys know, that the game has lots of visual bugs, which I have noticed, and obviously in this Central Park area, frame rate is gonna get tanked. It's gonna drop, like, as you can see, 25 even. This is one of the most demanding area in the game, the Central Park. And this is where I'm gonna stay and benchmark, you know. And also I have encountered one crash, and the error was that my driver is outdated, but it's not. I'm using the latest NVIDIA driver. And as you can see, 35 FPS average, and in this area it's dropping below 30. And VRAM usage is around 13, while allocated being 14, almost 15. It goes above 15. I have seen that happen. Okay, let's get up here and change our settings quickly now. So up next, we are gonna remain at 4K, and I'm gonna use quality DLSS, but instead of using this one, I'm gonna use ray reconstruction. I'm gonna enable that. The transformer model, as you can see in the description, it says the transformer model is specifically made for the 30 series, or the 40 and 50 series GPUs, and 20 and 30 series should use the legacy model. And let's go to display, and I'm gonna use DLSS quality. As you can see, as soon as I turn on ray reconstruction, it forces you to use quality DLSS, and you can't use native resolution for ray reconstruction, and anti-aliasing option gets grayed out with that. So I think this is applied, right? Yes, transformer model. And that didn't really help that much. Now instead of dropping to 28, we're getting 38, like plus 10 more FPS. Not bad. Like,
hey friends, it's
visually it looks quite good. And there's a little bit of ghosting around the character. When I move my camera, there's a slight bit of ghosting around the character, not too much. Also, the game has lots of issues with noise. There's a lot of noise. Let me know if you notice noise as well in your games. And the characters' faces, the hair, they are very noisy, as you can see here. Like, so noisy. I don't know what's going on. This is 4K. And their eyes are always constantly flickering in the cutscenes. Not here, but in the cutscenes, you will see the eyes flickering constantly. I don't know which setting is causing this. I'll have to test that out, but right now I just don't have that time, you know. I'm very busy nowadays with some other work, personal work, and I'm not getting time to play games and make videos also on the channel. And with this, we are getting like 30-40 FPS average. And now it's a little bit more playable, far better than before. And I don't think we'll have a good experience with frame generation, because the base FPS, we can't even get 60. And up next, I'm going to try this with DLSS performance. And this is basically DLSS 4, which is the ray reconstruction set to transformer model. And let me tell you, the DLSS performance looks pretty good with DLSS 4, the latest DLSS 4. Even performance DLSS looks quite good now. I won't mind using performance DLSS now, unlike before. And now we can easily stay above 60 FPS. If not all the time, but most of the time, we should be able to. What? You can swing? How do you get past? Okay, you can swim actually. Is this a mission around here? I don't want to go to the mission right now. Let's go to the other part of the city.
Hey man.
Okay, this is a cutscene. Okay, we got some fighting sequence right now, which is good for the testing. And as you can see, even during fights, we can stay above 60 FPS, and it looks quite good at the same time. But when moving, like when swinging around, I could notice a lot of bloodiness in the image, but that's typically happens with DLSS upscaling in any game. And on top of that, we are using performance DLSS, so of course it's downscaled at 1080p, then upscaled to 4K. I mean, not downscaled, it's rendering at 1080p. So I think I'm gonna die because I'm playing in spectacular difficulty. Oh no, she got us there. But anyway, as you can see, 70 FPS average. And also, I'm not gonna make this video too long. As I said before, I just don't have the time to. I have to test other GPUs also. Now I'm going to use DLSS frame generation on top of quality DLSS, which is ray reconstruction. And everything else is maxed out. And as you can see, the frame time graph is pretty much broken at this point. And we can't really do much about that. And I'm playing with a controller, so I can't really feel that much of a delay. I'll have to check it with a mouse in a second. Hello? Oh no, I don't know who they are. I'm just here to fight and test the GPU. Oopsie.
trying to get inside the ship. They want Perf and Lee.
Gonna use all of these abilities to be improved.
Got him for that.
I can't notice any input delay. It's really very smooth with the controller at this point. And the game just froze. I think it crashed. It is gonna show the driver, outdated driver error at this point, I feel like. Just like I said. Yep. Display driver. Problem with the display driver caused due to out-of-date drivers. Sure. 572.16 is the latest as of time I'm recording. Come on. Okay, so moving on, I had to restart the game there as we crashed. I'm gonna use DLAA, no frame generation, no upscaling, and I'm gonna turn off ray tracing for this test. All the ray tracing options are turned off. You can't use ray reconstruction without enabling ray tracing, and all the other settings are pretty much maxed out. And also, you should use DLAA in this game because TAA looks very blurry and it's just not optimized, right? So DLAA is the way to go. You just lose like 1 FPS. I have already checked it out. There's nothing to worry there.
Can't let them get inside this ship.
Okay, let's start our counters there. And I'm still in this fighting sequence because I couldn't progress because of the crash. And even without ray tracing, the game looks pretty good. Yeah, I hate this thing, this bird. Pretty annoying. And we are somehow holding above 60 FPS. It is dropping here and there. But on average, I think it should be 60 plus all the time. Without any ray tracing. I generally don't use depth of field in games, but for this one I'm using. I'll try it without depth of field also later on, see how it is. I generally don't like any blur effects in my game. I want everything crystal clear there. Now I'm going to try this with ray tracing turned off yet again, but this time with ray reconstruction, which I can't turn on, but now this time at 4K, I'm gonna keep ray tracing settings turned off and I'm gonna use Qlty DLSS. And I think this is not the DLSS for this one because we are not using ray reconstruction. So only Qlty DLSS is most likely DLSS 3, I guess. So as you can see, without any ray tracing settings turned on, with Qlty DLSS, we can get above like 80 FPS, close to 90. And even without ray tracing, as I was saying, the game looks pretty good on its own. But with full ray tracing, it looks a different game totally. With the fantastic lighting and reflection and all the shadows out there. It has every kind of ray tracing in this game. And AO as well.
Something tells me they're planning something big.
But yeah, for the performance, you can keep ray tracing turned off and you will have a smooth and buttery experience. Buttery. And obviously, if you turn on ray tracing, your CPU is gonna get hit harder for that. But this is quite nice as well. So I won't spend a lot of time with these. I think if you're gonna play this game on this GPU, you should use ray tracing because you paid a lot of money and in the end for this GPU, and you should use that feature. And you might need to use DLSS upscaling and frame generation here and there for that, but that's the thing right nowadays. Can't really help it. One more settings we're gonna try at 4K, that is I'm gonna set it to DLSS quality and turn on DLSS frame generation, as you can see, with everything set to max except ray tracing settings. Let's check this out, how much we can push the frame rate at 4K without any ray tracing. And there we go, 140, 150s. And ignore that frame time, it's broken, it's not showing up properly. But apart from that, the game runs pretty smooth. If you want to use ray tracing, you're gonna have trouble playing this game at 12 with 12 GB GPUs. With frame generation at 1440p, as I've tested earlier, I'm gonna do that now at 1440p. The VRAM usage here goes over like 12 GB, so it becomes a bit difficult. I wonder how the 12 GB GPUs are gonna do in this. But as you can see, no problem for this GPU without any ray tracing applied. 132 FPS average, pretty smooth right now. So we are moving into 1440p resolution now, and I'm going to use DLAA. Don't use TAA. You get like 1 FPS loss for using DLAA, and the image is far more clear than TAA. And I'm going to stick to the maximum settings with ray tracing set to ultimate, which is basically everything is set here to very high, and this one at 10. And we are gonna use ray reconstruction later on, which will force our game to use DLSS quality. And rest of the settings, these are the ones. And as you can see, with the native 1440p, this GPU cannot achieve 60 FPS. And there's like a problem, I don't know, because look at the GPU usage, it's like fluctuating so much. Like this only mostly happens at 1440p. Look at the GPU usage, it's like all over the place, like dropping into 80s, also 90. It's not hovering at like 98, 99 or 97 like it was in 4K. Definitely I think we are getting CPU limited somehow at this resolution, but it wasn't really happening at 1080p when I was streaming. It did a bit, but not like this. I can't understand what is going on here. But I think it's better to play at 4K instead of this. If you're gonna get this kind of performance, it was better with 4K, with quality DLSS, with ray reconstruction, and RT and all that stuff turned on. It was like the same experience, the same FPS we were getting pretty much. So it makes no sense to play at 1440p like this. Everything set to max. I'm going to use ray reconstruction now, the transformer model and the new DLSS 4, and it's going to force our game to use quality DLSS, as you can see. And my game has frozen, it seems like. Probably going to crash. No. That was lucky. So yep, with ultimate ray tracing, everything maxed out, and transformer DLSS ray reconstruction, and we can still stay above like 60. Still drops. We gain like a little bit of performance there, but it's pretty much the same because of ray reconstruction. It's kind of demanding on the hardware in some games. It's very demanding in Cyberpunk though. But now we can at least get 60 FPS average, so it's obviously better. Image quality is a little bit downgrade because it's not native any longer, but it kind of looks great. Oh, look at that. Those glasses just randomly appeared. Yeah, over there on that bridge, on that walkway. And we are still sitting below like 12 GB of usage, but the allocated one is a bit over 12. So I have my doubts how good the 12 GB GPUs are gonna perform at 1440p, and also with frame generation, when I turn that on, it's gonna use more VRAM. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna turn off ray reconstruction because we don't need it, because I'm gonna use frame generation on top of DLAA. I won't use any upscaler because this is 1440p. So let's check out frame generation on top of native res. And now we're getting 100 plus, and as soon as I go down into the city, it drops to like 80s. And surprisingly, we are still sitting below 12 GB of usage, just hovering there, close to it. And the allocated one is a little bit high, 12.6 almost. So it might cross 12 here and there, so you might see those occasional stutters here and there on 12 GB GPUs. And 1% lows are at 34. So that's why, since it's above 30, I can't really feel those stutters that much, but it's there for sure. And for input delay or frame generation, I can't notice a bit even. It's just absolutely fine. Obviously with the controller it is. Let me check with a mouse. Yeah, it's fine. It's decent. Not that bad. And our GPU is not really getting fully utilized right now. As you can see, the power usage is not even crossing 200 watts. Finally, for 1440p, we're gonna try this with DLAA with ray tracing settings turned off for those who don't want to use ray tracing. So let's check this out as well. This is native 1440p still, and we can get like 90 FPS, 80s down here, and still the GPU is not being maxed out, the GPU usage. I'll still try it at 1080p, see what happens there, because earlier when streaming I found out that 1080p was, in 1080p resolution, the GPU usage was always maxed out. Hope it's gonna be the case now as well. And VRAM has dropped because we have turned off ray tracing. And also it's now lighter on the CPU because of ray tracing being turned off. It's much more smoother, as you can see the frame time graph now. So let me know how many of you are gonna play this game with ray tracing turned off actually. Because I think ray tracing looks pretty good in games nowadays. But the hardware is not that great. Nvidia is really trying hard to sell their software to us, which I'm really disappointed. I'm so devastated by the 5080. I was gonna buy that, but after seeing the numbers, the reviews, I have dropped my plan of buying the 5080. And 5090, for that I need to sell both of my kidneys to get that, which is not gonna happen. But anyways guys, it's running absolutely smooth, the game, and I hope they fix all these visual glitches this game has with all the hair and a lot of noise it has on the faces and the eyes flickering of the characters and the shadow bug of the web. They should get on top of that real quick, because those are really very distracting issues with this game. And obviously the GPU driver crash thing, they also should get on top of that real quick. So finally, for 1080p resolution, those of you are gonna play this game at 1080p with this GPU, so we're gonna use DLAA, and everything is maxed out except the ray tracing settings, which I will turn on after this. So let's check this out real quick. It looks absolutely horrible on my 4K monitor right now, but this is for the video of course, and it's buttery smooth right now, but the GPU usage is not maxing out. That means it's CPU bound in this case, and my CPU is getting wrecked at this point because we are playing on a lower resolution. But when I was streaming, I think I have seen the GPU usage go up to like 99 at 1080p. I don't know, I can be wrong. I can't really remember. I'm just guessing. But I think the game starts to get CPU bound from 1440p only, at least with this CPU. And I think it would be the same with the 14th gen CPU as well with the Intel. I don't know about AMD. The 9800X 3D or the 7800X 3D, they will perform a lot better on this. You will have way less severe bottlenecking with those CPUs. But either way, as you can see at 1080p, the game is running flawless right now, above 100 FPS most of the time. And won't be spending too much time at 1080p resolution for sure. I want to test this, and also I'm not going to use ray reconstruction at 1080p because it's going to force my game to use DLSS quality, which I don't want to. So finally guys, at 1080p resolution, I'm going to use DLAA. I'm going to turn on ray tracing, set it to ultimate. Everything is maxed out. And let's check out the FPS. As you can see, we have dropped to about 60, mid 50s now, from 100 plus FPS, 90 and 100. Without ray tracing we're getting, and 1080p looks horrible right now, and can't really help it. After playing at 4K, it's just so difficult to go back to 1080p resolution. But regardless, you can get 60 FPS, which is nice with ray tracing and all that stuff, without any AI fake frames and all that nonsense at 1080p. I would still play like this instead of using fake frames. Trust me, Nvidia. I don't want your fake frames and all that nonsense. I want raw performance, and you didn't deliver it with this 50 series, which that's why I'm not gonna buy the 5080 and definitely not 5090. So thanks for watching, guys. Do leave a like if you enjoyed and if this video helped you, and as always, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Till then, take care and bye bye.